I actually turned on subtitles halfway through the movie.
It's better than me.
Hey, Peter. God dang it, Bobby.
Welcome back, guys, to another 191 Media movie review. I'm Matt.
And I'm Micah, and today we'll be doing a review on the film Layer Cake. The movie was released in 2004, and it was directed by Matthew Vaughn. The movie stars Daniel Craig, Sienna Miller, and Michael Gambon. This movie follows a highly successful drug dealer who plans to leave the game and enjoy an early retirement. However, his boss turns his world upside down when he orders him to take on two intense assignments involving rescuing his associate's daughter as well as recovering millions of dollars of narcotics. So what did you like about the movie Layer Cake?
I think what I like most about this movie was the acting, actually. So I think the story, personally, for me, was good, but I felt there was a lot going on and it could have been maybe simplified a bit. So I felt the story was convoluted, but what I think really pushed this movie up was the acting. And I think Craig did an amazing job, as well as all the other actors and characters involved. The actors were all, heavily British, really Cockney style. And I really enjoyed how all the actors portrayed their characters. They felt intense, they felt dangerous, they felt annoying when they had to be. So I really think the acting was my favorite thing about the movie.
Is there anything you didn't like within the movie, Matt? Anything that kind of stood out for you?
Yeah, so as I briefly mentioned before, I thought the plot was a little bit maybe overdone or convoluted, but I think what really kind of felt overdone to me was the amount of characters in this movie. Of course, the main characters were great, but I felt they kept adding side characters throughout the whole movie until probably the last third of the movie. So it just was hard to keep track of everybody involved, and there was even a scene where the main character goes for lunch with one of his associates, and then this hager guy just shows up and sits down, and then they beat the crap out of him basically, but you don't know who this is until much later in the movie. So it felt like, okay, they're just introducing characters, but why? Why are they introducing this character, right? How about yourself?
Yeah, I agree with what you were saying with that in terms of maybe they didn't, I don't know if it was like maybe a script problem or they were trying to introduce characters like further down the line in the movie, but yeah, I had to make sure that I was, I guess, paying attention to all these new characters, and sometimes you lose track of what's going on in the movie. But yeah, I mean, besides that, I thought it was good.
Could you elaborate on the plot a little bit for us, Micah?
So in the beginning of the movie, it's kind of showing Daniel Craig's character as an expert, I guess, drug dealer, drug producer. So he's kind of the head guy within this kind of big conglomerate of drug dealers, and it kind of shows his life and how he wants to get out of the drug dealing business. And I think him as a character, like his character specifically, was interesting because you think he's like he kind of has ulterior motives because he wants to get out of the drug dealing game, and then kind of later on towards the plot you realize that this may be not the case, and he has to deal with all these other, I guess, issues with like different characters, and he gets in a lot of trouble. Do you think he was a little bit naive?
I think he wasn't naive to start at the beginning of the movie, but one of his rules that he kind of mentioned at the beginning of the movie was that, I believe it was something along the lines of a kind of get in, get out. Like, if you're making a lot of money or you're doing something in life, don't get greedy, just do what you're doing, make your money, and get out of the game. And I think at the beginning, he was part of this. He was successful, had his plan. And then when his boss threw the kind of final assignments in for him, saying, hey, go rescue my associate's daughter and recover these kind of stolen drugs, that's what kind of caused a downward spiral for everything for Craig's character. And it's interesting as well, they never actually named Craig's character in the credits, sorry, not the subtitles. He was named as XXXX. I wonder why they didn't name him.
What I kind of got from the movie was I thought that his boss was trying to test him, but then like later on during the movie you realize it's not really the case, right? And you think that certain characters, like I thought his boss was like kind of a weird guy at the beginning of the movie, but then you realize he's got a lot of ulterior motives and he's really just kind of a disgusting human being and just all the stuff he does. And yeah, I feel like there was a lot of like twists and turns in terms of like people you think you can trust in this movie. And I was like rooting for a few characters, and then all of a sudden you realize, okay, well maybe they're not as good of characters as you thought they were. What did you think about that too?
I don't think there was any characters that were morally good in this movie, even though Craig's character seems like the one who's, I guess, most trying to get out of the game. But I mean, he's there right now. He's a drug dealer. He got into it. He wants to make tons of money and then get out. So, I mean, nobody in this movie was good. I mean, there's drugs, there's murders, adultery. Basically, every single character does something illegal, I'd say, at some point in the movie.
The one interesting thing I was thinking of too when I watched the movie, there was a lot of actors that were later played characters in Game of Thrones. Did you notice that?
Yeah, there was. I think because Game of Thrones wasn't that primarily casted with British actors as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense. I mean, there was even in this movie Tom Hardy, who was before he got famous. So he had like I want to say maybe not even 30-second role in this movie, where he was just at the very start, like one of the first shots, and he was just packaging some drugs with Craig's character, and that's all we saw of him. So he was a nobody back then, so he didn't get any screen time.
So you actually mentioned to me, Matt, that you thought that this movie kind of had a Guy Ritchie feel to it. Can you explain that?
Yeah, I thought this movie felt like a Guy Ritchie directed movie, and after recently watching The Gentleman, which came out in 2019, it felt the same kind of style of directing. Even the plot was somewhat similar, like a high-level drug producer trying to get out of the game. And just the way it was shot and the cinematography, it all felt like Guy Ritchie to me. So I was a little bit surprised when I found out Matthew Vaughn directed this, who's actually one of Guy Ritchie's longtime friends and producers. But Guy Ritchie dropped out at the last minute due to other commitments. So as this movie came out in 2004, it was actually 2 years before the release of Casino Royale, the James Bond movie. There's quite a few scenes in this movie where I felt that I could see him playing Bond in the future. Could you maybe say a bit more about that?
Yeah, there's a portion where Daniel Craig's character meets with Colm Meaney's character, and he gives him a gun, and he kind of walks out of the room and like has that signature James Bond pose, and you could tell it was just like an audition for James Bond, I feel like. So, and I mean, they probably started filming Casino Royale like a year after Layer Cake came out. So yeah, I think, was there actually someone who recommended Daniel Craig to be Bond too?
I'm not sure if there's somebody specific who recommended, but I think he was one of the handful of actors who were being considered to, do Bond in the next, I guess now 15, 16 years since that started. And actually the director of the Bond series, Barbara Broccoli, she was kind of watching a bunch of actors at the time, and basically Craig was high on the list. And with this movie, like you said, he had so many scenes where it almost seemed like he was trying to play Bond. Maybe it was the directing style, maybe he was acting that way on purpose, not too sure, but maybe that influenced the Bond movies even. So I'm 100% certain this movie locked in the role for him. So as two guys from North America, I can't be the only one who had to turn on subtitles within the first 5 minutes because I didn't understand the heavy Cockney accents. Did you also turn on subtitles?
I actually turned on subtitles halfway through the movie.
It's better than me.
I don't know if it was halfway through the movie, but there was a part where they started talking to these guys with a heavy Cockney accent, and I was like, okay, I can't understand these guys at all. Like, I can understand Craig's accent, and like Colm Meaney's accent is fine, but like these guys just, oh god, like it was super hard to understand. So yeah, I mean, probably put subtitles on for the majority of the movie if you can. So
I think one thing too for me was that there's a lot of, as this movie is heavily British, there was a lot of slang used from over there, which I didn't quite understand. So with the subtitles on, it kind of made more sense for me. So like you said, definitely if you maybe don't fully understand British slang or Cockney accents, turn on the subtitles. Who would you recommend to watch this movie?
Yeah, I'd recommend anyone to watch this movie that kind of likes a thriller. I don't know if it was specifically a thriller style movie, but it was interesting to see, I guess, the rise and fall of Daniel Craig's character. And there was a lot of times when you're really rooting for the character and then some really bad things happen to him. And yeah, like I did enjoy the movie a lot. I wish that there was like certain things that they kind of explained a little bit more, and the ending was kind of a crazy end to it. So I mean, well, it's probably deserving of like a second watch. But yeah, people, I think like a normal moviegoer will enjoy this movie. It got like, I think, pretty good reviews from most places. So I don't know, who would you recommend to watch this movie?
I agree with what you said. Anyone who likes decent movies, who like a really good plot, and I would say you do need to really focus on this movie when you're watching it. You almost need to watch it twice because at the end, there's a lot of layers that come together, and hence the title Layer Cake.
Layers!
Somewhat of a thriller movie, action, really heavily plot focused, and it definitely needs to be focused on when you're watching this. Like you almost really can't look away, otherwise you'll miss something important for the plot. And it almost feels like you need to watch it once, then watch it after again to fully understand all the layers that come together.
Thanks for watching, guys. If you have any movies you'd like us to watch and review, let us know in the comments. For 191 Media, I'm Micah.
And I'm Matt, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. We'll see you guys in the next one.